It's been 4 months since I posted on the goats of late summer. At that time, even summits were still snow-free, and families still fattened in alpine tundra and lower subalpine meadows. Soon, though, we had mornings with termination dust blanketing the highlands. Lush mountaintop forage wilted, and nursery bands descended. By October, favored habitats were along bases of cliffy ramparts where tops of alluvial fans emerged. Along one of these contacts, every chute sported a fresh tongue of avalanche debris and a little band of disturbance aficionados. Late melting snowbeds and groundwater upwellings left oases of green in the brown, leafless surroundings. Bears liked 'em, too. This one grazed mostly sedges, not far from a pair of young goats. Juneau matriarchs, veterans of many winters, slowly side-hilled seaward with their followers, too wise to get trapped miles from coastal refugia by an early blizzard. Bachelor groups grew less chummy and tolerant. After some jousting, they began to separate and roam. As late as early November, though, I did glimpse mature rutting males apparently traveling together, with no nearby females to explain the convergence. A couple days later, about halfway out, from interior alpine to coastal forest, found a rutting congregation in scrub alder, only 1,000 feet in elevation. And on the 8th, in more open subalpine parkland, found this smaller billy with maybe a 3.5-year girlfriend, just barely old enough to have a kid next spring. Billy Onehorn returned to the winter grounds by September 19th, already decorated with matching butt patches, mark of a hopeful but premature suitor. By November 10th, he was in full regalia, in better sync, presumably, with the nannies. Let's watch the rut's progression at a motion cam site, again at about 1,000 feet up from sea level. We'll begin with no snow, but that'll soon change. Like the site Steve Murley and I chose last year, the 108 Days slideshow, it's in tall tree forest at the edge of a radical drop-off. On November 8th, our supposed goat cam caught a deer, the first and last on this lofty platform. Judging from last year, most deer winter lower. By the 12th, we had more courtship behavior right in front of the camera. This nanny tolerated close approach for pheromone sampling, which only happens right before mating. Male goats and deer have a raised-nosed posture with lip curled back, moving her scent to a gland in the nasal septum. In the second week of November, there were at least 2 big males and 4 or more different females here, one of perhaps half a dozen rutting congregations in the forested cliffs between Zantikhini and Tikhini, Salmon Creek, to the northwest. Majority of activity is in darkness. Juneau must have really good night vision. This chart does show spikes at dawn and dusk. In my telephotography, I often experience that evening pulse, but not at dawn. They rarely emerge on open cliffs before noon. On the 20th, I was surprised to see a pair of billies come through side by side in the wake of a female. Didn't fit their reputation as competitive despots. Maybe these 300-pounders are just so deadly that negotiation is by the subtlest body language. Just a hint of present threat, that stiff-shouldered strut, or, on the part of Mr. Beta, a faintly signaled acquiescence. In 6 weeks, this camera gave us over 100 10-second videos, of which 70 were keeper goat movies. Classifying by date, time of day, temperature, snow depth, and age and gender allows pattern search. On this chart, red line is temperature, and blue line is slowly building snow depth. Bars show number of goats filmed each day. Activity declined in December, not only because rut was ending, but with deepening snow that makes travel more difficult. Last winter, goats moved on snow surfaces when firm enough, so we'll be watching for that here too. Early December looked like this almost every day, and open slide zones filled way too deep in powder snow for goats to feed or travel. I scan for them and rarely see any. They're unafraid of cold and wet, but like us, hunker down. Maybe in a blizzard it's hard to scan for predators, or sometimes to see your own feet. But eventually blizzards end, and under closed canopy forest, on ultra-steep slopes with outcropping bedrock, snow can't adhere. Goats may use this 1,000-foot ledge all winter. We'll get back to you on that next spring. Meanwhile, here's the last clips we got as snow slowly accumulated into December. I've seen a lot of muddy males, but this guy wins the prize. Looking kind of exhausted, too. A month of speed dating and fasting takes its toll. I see very few large billies in the depths of winter. Do they just crawl into caves and sleep like bears? Last winter, I figured my goat watching would taper off after the rut, when Juneau settled into more routine survival behavior. Turns out, though, survival's pretty photogenic. There's no season when goats are boring. To me, they're endlessly fascinating, refreshingly beautiful. This last browsing series could be titled, How to Be an Herbivore When Bears and Marmots Wimp Out.